It's been a while. I made a couple of videos last year in fall, back when I started this YouTube channel, and since then I didn't put out any new videos, just because spring has been such a busy time for me. Yeah, I have to repot all my personal trees or my private trees, all my trees that I have put on the web shop, and I had a lot of orders coming in as well, so I needed to package those orders and get them processed in time. And while doing this, I still needed to maintain my personal bonsai collection, so it was pretty hectic and I didn't find the time to film it all. The videos I put out last year were also styling videos, or a couple of them, and they were pretty time consuming. So I spent all weekends styling the trees and filming the whole process. And then afterwards I still needed to edit the videos and put them online. And it's a pretty time consuming process. But now that summer is coming along, things have slowed down a little bit, and I think I have a bit more free time as well to make some new content and some new videos. So I'm really glad I can finally do this again. So the trees that I brought up for this quick video are these two Chinese quinces. The Latin name is Pseudocydonia sinensis. Not to be confused with flowering quince, because you also have Gynomeles, which is the, I think it's called flowering quince in English. I'll look it up and maybe put it somewhere on the screen. But this is Pseudocydonia, so Chinese quince. I got these earlier this year from a wholesaler. These are imported trees from, I think, Japan, maybe Korea, I didn't ask. When I got them, they were in big growing bags, and they were field grown. And what I did to these trees this year was just give them a little bit of a prune, a structural prune, and then I repotted them as well into these Chinese containers. I really like these containers for this type of material because they're not too expensive, but it gives already a bit of character to this young material. So it's a little bit easier on the eye, I guess. And as you can see, they have grown a lot during, what is it, like 4 months, I think, maybe a bit less even. So they responded really well to the repotting that I did. After repotting and the structural pruning, I left them to grow and I just fertilized them pretty heavily with an organic fertilizer called bone meal. It's very high in nitrogen, and the advantage of using an organic fertilizer is that you can't over-fertilize the trees and can't damage them. So this is the kind of fertilizer that you just put on top of the soil. And then I also added a liquid fertilizer and just gave the liquid fertilizer to the trees every 2 weeks in combination with the bone meal. And the trees responded very well to this treatment. The leaves look very healthy. I have pretty elongated growth. Maybe the downside of using a high nitrogen fertilizer is that you get long internodes. So if you're working with more developed trees, you should obviously cut down the amount of nitrogen that you use in your fertilizer, because you will get uncontrolled, very lengthy, leggy growth. But for these trees that are still in development, obviously, it's not really a problem. So today I'm going to prune back the long shoots in order to get some more light back into the trees and stimulate some back budding. And I don't know if you can see it, but the bottom branches are pretty weak. So these trees are very apically dominant. So it's best to remove more of the growth on top and keep some of the lower branches unpruned so they can just grow out freely. So I'm gonna take you in a little bit closer and just show the process real quick. And afterwards, I'm gonna show you the end result of the trees. So the process is pretty straightforward. Up top, the longest shoots need to be cut back a little bit more than the weaker shoots. So up here, for example, this is like way up in the apex. I'm just going to prune it back to, let's say, two nodes, I guess. Should be enough. And just make a straight cut with sharp bonsai scissors. There is a cut made right here. I could choose to let this shoot grow longer to heal the cut over, but I'm not going to, because I really want to focus on just like the basic silhouette of the tree, and the cut is only like maybe max 1 centimeter diameter, so it will heal itself over without like letting a shoot grow next to it. And you can just repeat this throughout the tree. Sometimes it's safer to start counting from the second node that you come across, because sometimes the first node doesn't produce an extra branch or growth and it will die off. So when you start counting, you just skip the first one and then count 1, 2, and then cut. And you can see I'm cutting back fairly aggressively, I guess. Quinces are very strong growers, and I know if I'm going to fertilize it again, it'll produce another round of growth easily. And with this tree, I want to start focusing on building some ramification and just like creating a very nice silhouette. These trees are for sale as well, so they're on the website. So if you're interested in buying these, you can, obviously, if you live in the European Union. The front is somewhere over here. The tree is leaning forward a bit too much. But from this side, you can see the trunk and all the movements in the trunk, which is very nice, obviously. And sometimes I'm just like checking the silhouette and see if it's still fine. So I'm not too worried about like doing another structural pruning. I'm just basically cleaning up the silhouette of this tree. And the benefit is, well, there is going to be more light going inside the canopy, and you basically get a healthier tree, obviously. These two branches are the lowest ones on the tree. I'm not going to prune those because they're a bit weaker. So this one, it's fine, it's producing growth, but this smaller one really hasn't produced any long shoots. So I'm going to leave this one alone, and maybe I can prune this one, but I'm gonna leave a little extra growth on it, like that. And that's basically it for this tree. So a bit of a side note, you can also choose to remove some of the leaves on these trees. So for example, leaves that are growing on the outside really can open up the canopy. This is a technique that I use on more developed trees. As you can see, these are still young and in development, So the primary and secondary branches haven't been established yet, but like in 2 years, this is a technique that you can use to let more light inside of the canopy and really encourage the finer ramification of the tree. So now that this tree is finished, I'm going to go over and prune the second one. So for this tree, the process is the same. You can see there's quite a bit of a difference between the two trees. This one is a lot more open. The structure is a lot more open, so there's already a lot of light coming inside of the tree. I would say the growth on this tree is also a bit weaker, well, except for maybe this one leer up on top. So I'm going to be a bit more cautious with pruning this tree, maybe leave a little longer branches so the tree can recuperate a bit faster. But up top, you can be a bit more aggressive again. For the previous tree, I left maybe 1 or 2 nodes. On this tree, I will probably choose to leave 2 or 3 nodes from which new branches can emerge. This branch, I am going to leave it unpruned. Not because it's weak, but because I would like the silhouette to extend a bit more in that direction. So I'm just gonna let it grow, and then when I think it's long enough to fit the silhouette of the tree, I can cut it back and start ramifying that branch. And that's all. So it's an easy, quick job, very straightforward. So this is basically just regular maintenance pruning. Nothing too structural. It just helps like keep the tree in shape, in a certain silhouette, and keep it healthy, or keep the buds inside the tree closer to the trunk healthy. If you don't do this regularly, the tree will just grow out of shape. Branches on the inside of the canopy will die off, and well, that's not good, obviously. That is all the work I'm going to do on these trees today. So the goal was just to do some light maintenance pruning for the first time this season. We do this to let more light reach the inside of the canopy, keep the silhouette of the tree nice, and just promote some healthy back budding and ramification as well. As I said earlier, you can increase the ramification a bit more by also removing part of the leaves. So this is like really leaf pruning, but I would only recommend doing that for more mature trees where you have a basic good ramification. These trees are still pretty young and in development, so I'm not going to remove any of the leaves just yet. It would be just unnecessary, I guess. The trees weaken a little bit by doing so, and these trees need to be like growing really well to develop the basic branch structure. The next couple of months I will just feed them regularly, like with liquid fertilizer every week or every 2 weeks, and I will also top up the solid fertilizer, the organic fertilizer, bone meal, again, and then the trees should respond pretty well by another flush of growth over the course of the summer. And then if it's, again, very explosive and very good growth, I can cut it back again. If it's a little bit weaker, I will probably just leave it be. So because I also repotted these trees this year and pruned the roots, I'm going to be a bit more conservative with pruning these trees very aggressively this year. So for now, this is good enough and just a safe amount of pruning you can do. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit shorter, maybe a bit more basic stuff, but nonetheless, I hope you got something out of it, and I will see you in the next one.